Welcome to the Stodcast, where we dive into the latest happenings and inspiring stories from Berkshire Local Schools. I'm your host, Superintendent John Stoddard, and here at Berkshire, we strive to encourage, inspire, and prepare our students for the future. All right, welcome, and thank you for joining us here on the Stodcast. We wanted to bring a new and exciting way to engage our families and the community. And part of our new strategic plan was to create more ways to engage with the community. This is one of those ways. We saw that podcasts were taking off, people were excited about it, and we figured let's do another medium that gets our message out there, lets people know what we're about, and gives people easy access to some of the maybe the behind the scenes things that you don't hear about or see every day at the Berkshire Local Schools. Well, here we are in July with our first episode, and I thought what better way to kick off our first episode of the Stodcast than to give kind of a brief recent history of Berkshire Local Schools, where we are, kind of where we started, where we came from, because it's been an exciting ride. I'm starting my 9th year with the district here, which is exciting. But when I first came here, there was a little bit of things were in flux, and we had some things that we needed to figure out and some things that we wanted to do. Somewhere back around 2012, there was a group, including our current board president, John Manfredi, and Tracy Jemison, who was president at Jug Growth Partnership, and representatives from Kent State Burton had an idea about creating kind of a combined campus in the county. There was enrollment issues in the county, and all the schools were decreasing. And at the time, there were 4 smaller school districts. Berkshire was one of those, as well as Cardinal and Newberry and Ledgemont. And the idea was to try to bring those 4 districts together, maybe create like one high school out of those districts that would feed into the Kent State Burton campus for some other activities. And they were calling that the PRIME initiative, which stood for Partnership for Rural Innovative Models of Education. And then for whatever reason, that really never unfolded. There was not, any distinctive leadership. It was a great idea, but nobody really took charge. And then I think all the individual districts felt a little threatened. Their standing was a little threatened by that combination. So it never really went anywhere, but it was a dream, and it was kind of living on the website. And John Manfredi, again, current board president, it was always his dream and his focus, and he wanted that to be where the district went. And lo and behold, they ended up with their current superintendent retiring, and the job was posted. That's kind of where I came in back in 2017. I saw the posting. I started researching, read the website, saw the Prime Initiative, was excited about what I saw because it was similar to some things that I was trying to do as the high school principal at Oak Hills High School in Cincinnati. So if you're not familiar with Oak Hills High School in Cincinnati, it's very similar to Menor High School here in Northeast Ohio, where it was very large, grades 9 through 12, 2,700 students, kind of like its own small little city. And we were doing some really cool things with hands-on learning, project-based learning, making the work engaging for students, making it exciting and having them like really want to come to school, but also to start, building a track for what their future was going to be. And when I read the Prime Initiative, it seemed like that is a K-12. And if you add Kent State Burton, maybe even a K-16 kind of pipeline that could lead to those same things. So it got me really excited, and I applied. And lo and behold, I shared my vision with the board at the time, which matched their vision for Prime, and they ended up welcoming me in. And then in February of 2017, I was officially hired as the next incoming superintendent. Doug DeLong was the superintendent at the time, and I had the opportunity to meet with Doug and talk about a few things and transition in and out. And then over that summer, I spent more and more time, getting acquainted, coming in, being a part of the district. I was able to meet a few people who knew a lot of people. One of those people I happened to run into in one of my first experiences here was Jerry Hiscox, who ended up giving me, a Rolodex of hundreds of people to talk to. And so I went through that list and I started to schedule meetings and scheduled meetings with lots of different people. Got to sit down and talk to staff at the schools, board members at the school, community members, business leaders, and over and over and over. What I kept hearing about was they didn't want the school to just focus on pushing all the kids to college because there are more things than just college. They wanted to have the opportunity for our kids to really achieve the American dream here. And essentially what we wanted for our kids was that they had the opportunity to have a some type of a career. And by career we mean it pays a living wage, you have the opportunity for advancement, and it gives you access to quality healthcare benefits. So that's how we were defining a career. And we really didn't care how the kids got to that career. If college was their route to get to that, that was awesome. We were going to provide opportunities for them to do that. And we had great partnerships here with Kent State and College Credit Plus to do that. But we also, over the past decade and a half, maybe even more, have been neglecting other routes to get there, like trades or technical schools or potentially the military. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to get across the point that it didn't have to be either or. It didn't have to be a trade, a military, or a college. It could be a combination of all those things together. You could get involved in a trade while you were still getting some college credits and potentially maybe even go to college, or maybe the employer or the trade pays for the college. And there's this pushback now about students who are leaving such debt and then they were not really even using their college major. And it's really not the college degree that's the enemy, it's the debt that's the enemy. So if we can find a way to get kids to that degree without debt, or get kids in a career track that also gets them that college experience without debt, then we were going to do our kids a great service. So we wanted to be known as an and district and not an either or district. We want our kids to be able to do whatever they wanted. Our goal early on there was to hold ourselves accountable for the choices our kids have and let our kids and families hold themselves accountable for the choices that they make. So that's where we started when I first came to the district, and we had a really big we convened what we called a prime committee because we wanted to reinvigorate this whole prime initiative that in 2012 kind of failed to launch. Now, between 2012 and the time I came here, Ledgemont and Berkshire combined through a territory transfer. So now we were from from 4 schools, we were down to 3. And the Ledgemont and Berkshire territory transfer opened up a lot of opportunity and possibilities, not only for our district, but really for other districts that wanted to try to follow this model. Because by Ledgemont and Berkshire coming together to become the new, Berkshire Local Schools, that there were some House bills passed that allowed some additional funding to flow for facilities to be built in order for that to happen. So John Patterson, who was a Democrat, Sarah Latourette, who was a Republican, came together to create this bill, bipartisan, that says, we really care about and value our education system, and we want to build something that's going to be useful for kids. It's gonna put them on a path to be productive. So that's kind of where the Prime Initiative was born, and then it just took us pushing it to the finish line. So we created a committee. There were about 35 people, I think, on the committee. It was made up of teachers, parents, grandparents, school administrators, and community members who were interested, and business leaders who were interested in the future of this community. And part of that process was potentially construction of a new school to house these elements, because while we can do many of the things that we wanted to do, the old facilities were not conducive to some of the collaboration and creativity and problem solving things that we wanted to get our kids involved in. So when that committee came together, we met from probably September of 2017 through January of 2018, just talking about what do we want our kids to know and be able to do? When they leave Berkshire, what do we want them to do? And that's how we came away with the 5 C's. And they were collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking, and civic responsibility. And we kind of launched into that with students, and the students created a video to go along with that to explain to people what that meant. And that became our North Star. So then every decision we were going to make after this was going to be based on that North Star of the 5 C's and how are we going to get there. And one of the first major obstacles we had was school schedules are already tightly packed. You got testing, you got curriculum you got to get through, you got to get kids ready, and teachers are very, very stressed because they have a lot of things they have to do in a little amount of time. So part of what they said was, yes, we want our kids to have these skills. It's great to have those skills, but when are we going to do that? We're not going to have the time. So part of what the Prime Committee started to research was, is there a way that we can teach the content that needs to be taught to prepare the kids for the testing they're going to have to take that also kind of builds those skills in? And as the committee met and talked and kind of kept going back through, project-based learning kept coming up over and over and over. So we decided that, the way we were going to do that was, if project-based learning was the plate, then it supported everything else we do. It wouldn't be adding one more thing to the plate of teachers. So we said intently, we are not going to focus on testing. We're not going to focus on test scores. We're going to take the state standards and we're going to put that into a project-based format that when kids get hands-on and they learn it, they're going to learn it deep enough that eventually those test scores will kind of fall into place. But they got to be excited about learning and want to be here. And so that's where we started to build, and we started to kind of drive everything we were doing. And then when we were designing a new school, we were designing that new school with those ideas in mind. It's got to be flexible, got to be a lot of spaces you can collaborate, classrooms with walls that open up so groups can work together, dry erase magnetic boards everywhere so kids can write down ideas or have ideas, large, open, creative spaces where we can immerse kids into kind of a space that allows their creativity to flow, because it's really hard to continue to be creative if you're trapped inside a beige box all day long. So those were the ideas, and that's where we started to design the school. And so when we started to move forward with how are we going to help kids learn and how we're going to design the school, it was all guided by that North Star of, the 5 C's, or what we were calling at the time the graduate profile. So that drove everything we were doing. Now, to make a long story short, we're now about to start year 4 in this brand new facility, which was a huge accomplishment across the district. I mean, everyone came together. They saw the vision for the future. They all liked it. It passed on the bond issue passed on the first try. And that's when communication was probably at its best. And then communication has dipped a little bit. We met our goal, and, where are we? And I think internally we communicate pretty well with our families, but the community wasn't hearing some of the things. So we decided during year 3 that we were in the building, or during year 2, that it's probably a good time to kind of refocus, recommit, and figure out, is our strategic plan working, or do we need to refocus? And so during that school year, we put a strategic plan team together, very similar to how we did the Prime initiative. It was by invitation. And so we wanted a good mix of middle school, elementary school, high school, parents, teachers, administrators, board members. We spent a lot of time putting in, I think 41 is what we ended up with. 41 people who were committed to that strategic planning process, who came together, who met once a month from January through the summer of that year, just deciding, is the direction we're going the right direction? What do we want to tweak? What do we want to adjust? And in that, we developed a new mission statement. We developed a new vision statement. Our core values were largely the same, but we just articulated those better. And in the tagline for the video, we talked about engage, inspire, and prepare. And that's part of our new mission statement was we want to engage, inspire, and prepare our kids for the future. And that's what we're doing through workforce development partnerships, college credit plus partnerships, military partnerships. Our middle and high school for the past several years have been Purple Star designated schools, and we're hoping to have the elementary join that this coming year. And that's shows a commitment to military families and a support of the military. And so we're proud of that. We want to continue that. We want our kids to either enroll in a 2-year college, 4-year college, or some type of a technical training program, enlist in the military, armed services, some force, or be employed by a local company that's going to give them the opportunity to earn a living wage, with the opportunity for advancement and with access to great healthcare benefits for their family, so they can create the life, they can live the American dream that we aspire for all of our kids. So that's where we are now. And like I said earlier, one of the offshoots of that strategic plan was better communication. We heard several times through that strategic planning process that the community at large, sometimes they don't know what's going on here. They're not fully aware of everything. So that's an offshoot of the Stodcast now. We want to give one more medium to share the great things that are happening here, all the great stories. And we have had a lot of really great things happen. Our focus on hands-on quality instruction has been awesome. Early on in that process, it didn't look like those results were paying off in terms of state report cards. And there was a little bit of criticism there to say, what are you guys doing? Your state report cards aren't good. The test scores aren't the greatest. And we kept asking for patience because we felt like our model would eventually get there. We were creating some great workforce development pathways that they start with hands-on learning at the elementary school. They move into a little more focus on some workforce pathways in the middle school, and then some definite workforce pathway opportunities at the high school, either through Auburn Career Center or through one of the great pathways that we created here, which have led to, we're going to open this school year a workforce development campus over across from the Preston Superstore, which will lead to many other great opportunities for our students. So we're really excited about all of those things, about all of those possibilities, and also excited about the fact that not only have we added those great workforce development opportunities, those awesome hands-on learning opportunities, but it's not all just anecdotal happiness, because our test scores have gradually increased each year for the past 5 years. Our report card rating has increased each year for the past several years. We went from being a 3-star school to a 3.5-star school. Last year, we were rated 4 stars. This year, we believe we're going to exceed the 4-star rating. So proof that you can be an and district. You can do all of those things. And we are a leader in those areas. Berkshire, little old Berkshire in Geauga County, has 2 partnerships. One with Ohio Machinery Company, who owns Ohio Cat and who owns Ohio Peterbilt. We are one of 15 schools out of all of Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana who have a partnership with them as a Tier 1 partner, because we're focused on that work. And that's going to provide our kids opportunities in diesel, in generators, and in auto that is unmatched anywhere else. And then we also were just awarded the Battelle for Kids, the Battelle Advanced Manufacturing Grant, which will allow us to create this certified production technician. We have a certified production technician course, which will get our kids another micro credential and just get them one step closer to being able to get that great job they want. So that certified production technician course will get our students the opportunity to get an industry recognized credential and a micro credential in an area that's going to be sought after. And the fact that our goal here is we want every kid to earn some college credit before they leave here, because they may not want to go to college now, but maybe they do later, and then they won't be starting from scratch. They'll have some credit. Our goal would be for every kid to have at least 12 college credits before they leave here. But what we also want is we want every student to have a registered pre-apprenticeship when they've left here as well. So they may not want to go into an apprenticeship, but they will have a registered pre-apprenticeship that will lead them there if that's the direction they want to go. And exposure to all the awesome career opportunities and personal opportunities that are available through the military. So if they so choose, they can pick one or all of those things, and then we can rest easy knowing that we provided them the options. Again, we're holding ourselves accountable for the choices they have, and then they can hold themselves accountable for the choices they make, and that will give them the opportunity to live that American dream when they leave us. We want our kids, I want someone to approach one of our graduates on the street, and when they say, "Hey, why did you get a high school diploma?" What and most kids, you would ask that, they wouldn't be able to articulate that. It would be, well, I don't know, I took the 4 math classes and 3 science classes and 4 English classes that they told me to take. I want our students to be able to talk about the development that they made throughout school, the exposure they had to college courses, the exposure they had to career pathways, and how those things drove them to the direction they took directly after school. And that's what I want for our kids. That's what I want for our community. And the more we can have our kids leave here prepared with a direction to head in, the better our community is going to be as a whole, the better the state's going to be as a whole, and this is going to be an awesome place to live and bring your family back to, and it's going to thrive in the future. So the workforce development pathways will lead kids to what is known as an IRC, or an industry recognized credential. And if a student has an industry recognized credential on their diploma, it says to an employer, this student has done the basic things that they need to kind of walk into your business and be successful. So we want all of our students, and that's also an alternative pathway to graduation. So let's say a student just wasn't the best test taker in the world, and they didn't do that well on the tests. They can get an industry recognized credential, IRC, and that would uh, fulfill an alternative pathway to graduation. So let them graduate without having to go back and retake a bunch of those tests that they're just not doing well on. So the industry recognized credential lets kids earn a credential that tells their future employer that they're committed to what they're doing, and they have a base level of knowledge that will make them successful when they enter the workforce. So like I said, I'm going into year 9 as the superintendent at Berkshire Local Schools, and I had zero experience with Northeast Ohio before moving here to take this position as superintendent of the schools. I'm from Southwest Ohio, born in the Cincinnati area, had lived there my entire life, and we moved here. And my wife did live in Sheffield Lake when she was younger, but again, a lot of her teenage and adult life also from Southwest Ohio. And when we moved here, they say the great thing about a small town is everybody knows everybody. And the bad thing about a small town is everybody knows everybody. And we learned that really quickly. We went to JC's restaurant one of the first times we were here, and were just approached by a gentleman who said, "I bet you're the new superintendent." And I said, "Yeah, that's a great guess." And he looked at my 3 kids. He said, "I bet your name's Max, your name's Lucas, your name's Haley, and your name's Rena," to my wife and my 3 kids. And we were like, "Oh, yeah, you really know who we are." And he said, "How would you like it if I put you guys in my car and just drove you around and showed you everything about the district?" And we spent the next 3.5 hours with Jerry Hiscox driving around the district and learning just about everything we needed to know about the district. It shows the and Jerry told us, if you go to breakfast, get a coffee at Coffee Corners, and then you go to JC's for lunch, then you'll meet everybody in Burton. And then if you just the next day you go up to Thompson, and you have lunch up at Stockers, then you'll know everybody up there. And so, I mean, basically just telling me all the different places where we should go. Very nice. It was, I didn't have to be outgoing because people approached me. It was just a very nice place to come to, very nice place to live. And my oldest son was going to Youngstown State, so he was coming up here anyway. And one quick story, we dropped him off at Youngstown State, and on our way back, coming through Parkman, we were flagged down by several Amish people. And we're like, oh, what's going on here? And they stopped us and they said, our horse got away. Can you help us find him? So we spent one of our first nights here helping an Amish crew track down a runaway horse, which we found in someone's backyard. And then we felt great about helping out. But not an experience we'd ever had before, but something fun. So a little bit about some of our partnerships. We have a very strong partnership with the Preston Auto Superstore. They are extremely supportive of not just Berkshire, but all the local schools around here, and very supportive of the county fair, and just a staple of the community. But the Prestons donated the money for us to purchase the Workforce Development Campus. We purchased a 5-acre defunct ODOT facility that sat across from them. And they've moved into half of one of the large garages and the body shop area of that campus. So that partnership is essential to us because it's helping our diesel, which will later morph into what we'll call mechanical technician, because it won't only be focused on diesel. It'll be focused on some auto and some diesel and some generator work with our Ohio Cat and our Ohio Peterbilt and the Preston work. But they were able to, the district couldn't have afforded that property without the Prestons making that donation. And all they asked for in return was to be able to share some of that space. What that's going to do for our kids is they're not going to have to tear down and rebuild motors that are just sitting around. They're actually going to get hands-on experience with real live equipment at a real live shop, and they're going to learn shopsmanship, and they're going to learn work etiquette, and they're going to learn all the things they need to learn right there with Preston's. And that's going to be one of our official state-approved pre-apprenticeships. So it'll be great opportunities for students. So that's probably our biggest partnership. We also, from the beginning, have had this partnership with Kent State. Kent State University essentially donated this 44 acres that we've built our school campus on. We did pay for it. We paid $1 for a 100-year lease. So essentially a penny a year is what we're paying Kent State for this property. In addition to that, Kent State, when public high schools pay for College Credit Plus, there are 3 different rates. If your student goes to a college campus, you pay the highest rate. If a Kent State University professor or any other university professor teaches the course on your campus, you pay a minimum rate. And if one of your employees teaches the course on your campus, you pay the lowest rate. Well, because we are considered a part of the Kent campus, we automatically get that middle rate for anything we offer through Kent. So it saves our taxpayers some money with that partnership through Kent, because we're not paying the highest rate. And then Kent has also helped us, along with Hiram College and Lakeland and some others, to certify our own teachers to teach those here, so that we can offer those credits at a really more affordable rate for the district and for our taxpayers. Agribusiness pathway that we've developed, which is in alignment with Great Lakes Cheese, and we've got some pre-apprenticeships that are going to be aligned toward Great Lakes Cheese through the agribusiness and productions pathway. So that, along with, we have a special ed vocational program that we work with 32 different businesses on to get our kids out and get them experience in all different types of leadership and job settings. And it's leading to sustained employment for those kids. So lots of different partnerships there as well. And then our partnership with Auburn Career Center, where we can offer, Auburn Career Center offers a host of different career and technical pathways. And Auburn is going to be instrumental in helping us at the Workforce Development Campus to offer satellite programming that is shared between Auburn and Berkshire. And then it won't just be Berkshire kids who will be able to benefit from that, but any kid who would go through Auburn could potentially participate in one of those programs, because our goal is to help these local businesses thrive, because as the local businesses thrive, the community thrives, everyone, a rising tide lifts all boats. So I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. I hope you learned some great things about the recent history of Berkshire Schools. I'm sure that there's more that I could have thrown. We could have done an entire podcast on just the Prime Initiative, I'm sure. And I gave it to you in a really quick little sample. In the future, I want to do some things with you, like bring on some special guests. Like I want you to talk to principals so you can see what they do. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do in June, July, and August here, and who's still working and what they're doing and why, and then how we get prepared for the school year and what kind of things are happening during the school year, and then of course all the awesome project-based learning and grant initiatives and other things that happen throughout the school year. So if you tune into future episodes, expect guests to talk to you about things that happen and hearing about all the great things that are happening in the district, and things that are on the horizon that are to come, and some of the reasoning why we do some of the things we do here, along with potentially, if you want to send in some suggestions on, I'd really like to know more about this, can you talk about what we want to do there, feel free to either email me at john.stoddard@berkshireschools.org, leave a comment about what you want to know more about. Click like, subscribe, follow, join us on social media. We want to find as many different ways to communicate with you and give you all the information you need as possible. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Stodcast. We hope you enjoyed it and feel inspired by what's happening here at Berkshire Local Schools. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and go Badgers.